Good morning, everybody. I'm Angie Baker. I'm the technology trainer here at MyBor. Welcome to all of you this morning. And I'd like to welcome my subject matter expert and good sport in letting me round him into this, John Karamansky. You may know him as a realtor with Highgarden. He's also a builder, designer with Alpha One and Indy Smart Homes.
Correct.
And I have found him to really just be a visionary in this. This is really just going to be sort of a casual conversation. There will be lots of time for questions. What are you interested in? But we're just going to go ahead and get started and kind of kick it off. The concept behind this Latte and Learn series really is just to key in on some of those industry trends that you guys are seeing kind of creep in and highlight one of those each time. So it's just an education opportunity for us all to get a little smarter. And so we thought we'd start with smart homes. Smarter. We all like to be smarter.
We hope so.
Yeah. So how many of you, just to start out, how many of you guys recognize this? You probably were delivered it. This is the Realtor magazine for January, February 2019. And this is why you're all here, right? Because you saw this article that says Making Sense of Smart Tech Hype. Yeah? How many of you all have seen this? Any Time subscribers in here? This is the cover of Time magazine. Time subscribers, you all got this month? No, you didn't, because this says on the cover, the smarter home, all right, is from July of 2014. So this isn't a new topic, right? And this is for you to take home.
I'm honored.
I know.
Thank you.
Well, we saw that as we were prepping for this event. So this isn't a new discussion, but I think with the emergence of all of these gadgets and devices, and you all may have either received or given something as a Christmas gift that kind of ties into this discussion. So as these new technologies enter the marketplace and become more common, what does that mean?
You've invited a robot into your home. It means you have artificial intelligence inside your home. It means the future is here now. So today is to talk about how you're going to adjust to that. You're going to adjust. It's going to serve you. As you are in an industry of service, of information and communication with your clients, your homes and your devices are of service to you. And how many here, just raise your hands, have a smart house device in your home? Okay, so let me ask you to do something off script. If we have your permission, okay, good. Everybody take your phones out. Take your phones out and mute them. You want to Google anything we want to say today, you want to engage, you want to anyway. So here you have permission. The only social protocol we've learned to accept is mute. And if you've got an emergency phone call because you're a working realtor and you need the cash flow, take the call. Okay? It's we're at MyBor. So we're encouraging you to make your living.
And if you need another latte, bar's open till 11.
Thank you.
And if after all that latte you need a quick restroom break, right around the corner. So this is more casual. Don't feel like you're going to offend anybody, miss anything. If you have to step out for a minute,
Please.
Totally free to do so.
This is an open discussion in a new format that's never been done. I was thrilled that Angie called me and said, wow, would you like to talk about this? For 5 years, yes, I wanted to talk about this. So my first thank you is to my life partner, my wife, Victoria, who for over 3 decades, she and I have produced imagery and video in black and white, producing images for television, listening to what builders told us was their greatest ideas, okay? And then we had to take their ideas and turn it into a presentation of space. So we've learned about the use of space, which is the first issue of SMART, and we've learned about building from some of the best in town. So I want to thank my wife for that. I want to thank my partner, Harry Sanders, who helps us build homes and really understands the tolerances. And I want to thank Wade Berge, a young man who's 30 years old, who at 30 has 10 years technology experience, which is why we have an IT department. So where we are now is a tipping point of your lives. Because in the next months, my board is going to say to you for your listings, what devices are high energy efficiency, which devices do more. You gotta know, and you're gonna come across a home within the next year to 3 that's got an AI system, and your people are gonna wanna know how to transfer it with security, and they're gonna wanna know, how do I use it? So we're here, the doors are open. Through my board, you can now be able to find the answers to all these tech questions because we're gonna open up the doors for you. Okay?
So in preparing for this discussion, I had the pleasure of many conversations with John, and something that wasn't really on my radar too much, I hadn't put too much thought behind it, was, I have an older home, and so I've been incorporating technology, big shock, right? I've been incorporating technology as we renovate our 1970s home. John's not new necessarily, but John's specialty is in newer construction. And one of the things that he pointed out to me is really, it starts with the blueprint. How are you going to use your domicile?
That's right.
And how are you going to incorporate the technology so that it makes sense at the blueprint level before you start accessing all of these devices? So do you want to talk about that a bit?
Angie, that leads us to this concept that we developed called intentional design. How do you use space? Who do you use it with? What do you do next? That defines the use of space again and again and again. That's all we use our home for. So delving into those questions of where are your sight lines, where are your social lines, these ideas we see in our large national builders of understanding behaviors, we wanted to take it to a subtler, more refined position. We ended up listening. How do you carry your groceries in? How do you prepare your food? What do you do with it? Why do we have this idea? Why do we use this engineering? What could this room also be for me? Now that's just in the design. But now, as we've seen from the future, your homes are going to be touch screen and voice activated in every single room. The voice activation now is so inexpensive, it's $39 to voice activate a dot in every single room. A full screen Alexa show, oh my, how fun they are. Okay, for $250, not hardly about to break anybody's budget. And flat foldable screen should be available by the end of another 18 months. We'll just post them on the wall with tape. Our future is that quickly right here. Now, our interest was we saw it coming. We saw this use of space. So we wanted to see everybody who's building a smart house. And wow, were we enlightened and terrified. People standing on the edge of the gangplank were us. I don't have someone I can go imitate. I can Google what happened in 1914 or yeah. And we started recognizing 5 years ago when the Chicago Museum of Science and Industry built their first smart house that this was coming. We spent 2 years trying to get builders to recognize the idea, got nowhere. So Harry and I just bought our own lot, put our own spec, and now we've built 3 custom versions of this home for the first 1% of responders. We're building a 4th now for custom client, and the 5th one we're building will be the first honest-to-goodness model you'll be able to walk into by Valentine's Day. You'll be able to see how the drapes and the lights and the music and the voice all interact. It'll be the first interactive, demonstratable smart house in the Midwest. It's going to be here in town, in Stringtown. How many people even know where Stringtown is? All right.
Not the one in Boone County.
Thank you.
We've heard that this morning. Not the one in Boone County, the one that's about, 5 minutes from here.
The one that's across from the university and billions of dollars of intellectual capital waiting to be developed and discovered. Just like the technology we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
So, our next question and subject.
Yeah, and you had a comment. You said no. There's already a model somewhere
There was one years ago in Ohio.
in Ohio. Okay.
I don't remember what city, but like at least 7 to 10 years ago.
Okay.
It probably wasn't at this level because Alexa
Mhm.
wasn't out, obviously.
Right, right.
But there was, I think it was Columbus, I don't remember. But in Ohio, they were, because I've been in that, I've had that
Mhm.
interest for a long time. So
Yeah.
I always perk up when I hear that.
Yeah, and there is a model. We had an article that we read about it. There's a model that Lennar has built in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, that you can tour, walk through.
To support what John was saying, Ryland got bought by Cal Atlantic. When Cal Atlantic became Lennar, all of a sudden they got smart. So if you go into a Lennar, if you go into an older existing Lennar home, it's dumb. If you build a new Lennar home, it's smart.
It's smarter.
No, it's
Yeah.
getting smart, and within
Yeah.
2 years, they will be interactive. I've talked to a couple of people there, I know a manager that, they will be interactive in 2 years.
Yes.
Their houses will be touchscreen.
Yep.
Yes. there
And that's
is.
a nationwide builder that's gonna build thousands of homes, so.
Mhm. And that's a partnership.
Yes, with Amazon and Lennar, it's been done on the corporate level. It's indicative then, if the corporate culture of technology has infused and partnered itself with the corporate culture of home building, one of the most conservative thinking behaviors of corporate engagement. And they're finally going, okay, we need to do this on a corporate level. I'm just an icebreaker. The ice behind me is wide open. Okay, we're trying to take it quicker and sooner and faster than anyone else, recognizing that this is a tsunami. The wave is right behind us. We're so quick. Where artificial intelligence is going to help you run your home for your own good, for your own amusement, for your own engagement, for your own moods, for your own safety, for your own protection. Your smart devices, how many people here already have connectivity on their phone to their cameras at their houses? Okay? You can see what's going on in the most important spaces of your existence, your home. This is safe space. This is emotional. This is the most touching aspect of who we are. It's where we heal. It's where we reflect. It's where we find our inspiration. It's where we get to get up and go to get out.
Well, and before we move on, one of the other phrases that you had used with me that I thought really interesting was the ability for these devices to help you set the scenes within your life.
As a theater person, I think you appreciate the word scenes. And as a technology distributor, what we're recognizing is that when our IT department works with someone to set up their smart home responses and voice commands, effectively they're called scenes. So if you're in complete command control of your home and your kitchen living room experience, if you know that in the morning you prefer a certain type of lighting and you want your coffee pot to start off in a certain way, you can set Alexa and your smart lights to come on and do a certain performance, and you can start asking Alexa what the weather is for your commute, and you can start asking Alexa what the weather is where someone you love lives. You can also have it set so that in the evening, if you're just having dinner with someone special, alone, and there's not other family members or individuals there to bother that harmonic of a moment, that you can say, Alexa, set mood lighting 1, and she already knows that mood lighting 1 means that the people engaged in that moment have a certain type of lighting. They may even have a number of songs that they like from their playlist, and they've created an emotional moment out of their own intentions. It's pretty cool to have at home. Doesn't mean you don't have to get up and go over to the stereo, pick up the record, wipe off the vinyl, put it on, do the needle, go adjust the lights. You can just voice activate it, say, set the scene, put us in a mood because it's us. It's a nice reward. That's a service. It's when your AI intelligently services your life, and our moods are everything about how we respond to everyone else. If your home helps you feel better at any moment of the day, you're easier to get along with for the rest of us.
And if you have a barista sitting next door, that's even better, right? It helps us all get along. So as we kind of move forward in this discussion, we all, I think, can recognize that technology is moving at breakneck speed. We've seen a lot of devices roll out in the marketplace. So, as we look at the various kinds of technology that are entering into our homes, into our domiciles, I've got to find lots of ways to work that word in because he's making me smarter just by sitting here next to me. But we wanted to put together a little visual for you to get some idea of what kinds of technology you're going to be seeing transfer with the homes that you're selling. So this is going to wake you up.
Alexa, turn down the dramatic music.
No. That was our special dramatic music. Have you seen the commercials of the guy that says, Alexa, I'm going to play dramatic TV shows, and he's speaking in the voiceover drama. You guys probably don't even have to watch commercials anymore, right? It's not a thing anymore. So that's just a montage, it's the tip of the iceberg. There are so many various devices, and I don't know if you saw me throw the one picture in there that you didn't provide. It was the garage door opener that I recently bought.
Yes.
He keeps hearing about this. So I had to replace the garage door opener in my 1970s house. And as I was perusing all of the choices, of course there was one that had the picture that says, it'll work with all these devices, and I thought, aha, that solves my problem of my 3 children constantly losing their house keys. They can download the app, I have to share it with them. They can download the app on their phone because they all take their phones to school with them. And if they lose their house key and they are locked out of the house, they can open the garage door from their phone. If I needed to, I guess I could do it for them. If somebody forgets to close the garage door in the morning and I pull up the app here at work, I can close it. So that's a lot of the ideas behind these smart devices that I'm a practical person. I like the ideas, the philosophies, but I'm like, how does it make my life easier? That is a piece of technology that solves a problem in my life. And there's a
Question about your garage door.
okay, yes. See, I told you they would be interested.
I've got a ADT pulse system, but my new garage door opener, which is LiftMaster, I think, is not compatible. And at the time I had them installed about a year ago, there weren't any of the garage door openers that were compatible with pulse. Do you know how I can integrate that somehow onto my phone?
I don't, but I bet there's a YouTube
Well,
video
there
for
is.
that.
LiftMaster has a separate
Yeah.
app that I can use, but it's silly to have to.
Sure.
An app to open my
Sure.
garage door.
And I think that's a common problem for early adopters, is you get these various different pieces of technology, and then how do you make them all work together? I don't have a solution for your problem now, but I bet we could find one.
The other question I have that I think is probably germane to most of us in the room, because we sell more existing homes than we do new homes. And that is to learn more about what devices are available to retrofit.
Go ahead, Kristen.
All right. First of all, there are solutions to all of that. But what you've just stated that you want, this is what I want. I want my servant to be so precise. I want the temperature controlled in every single room, correct?
That's exactly it.
Thank you. Do any of you have an older home right now that does that for you? Okay. And what kind of HVAC system do you have?
So I have and this was back to, we bought a condo in Florida and I control the whole condo from here, so I don't even need to be there.
Okay, didn't ask that question.
Okay, it's, I use Echo and I have.
Can you
many-
change it from one bedroom to the next?
Yes.
Good.
Because I have sensors that are in each bedroom and it tells me, and they're all named, which bedroom, it tells me what the temperature is in each room.
Yeah.
It tells me what the humidity level is in the condo, so I get an alert. It tells me if I need to adjust that. My furnace is set to auto, so it kicks from AC to heat without me being there. It knows exactly what I need it to do, and it learns your movement in the house. So it knows when you're not there, and then it goes into like a quiet mode for energy savings. I can unlock and lock my doors from not being there, and I use a system to tie them all in together called Vera.
Yeah.
And Vera also does the garage, so I can go to one app and it does everything. I loaded my Schlage, is it Schlage, is that how you pronounce it?
Schlage.
Schlage, I use Schlage, and it's loaded on there, so it's phenomenal.
Now, in a moment, we're not going to get into technical details here. This is a philosophical discussion, and I'm going to control that. Okay? All right. How old are you?
I'll be 50, 49.
Okay. How old are you, sir?
Be 77
Right.
in the end of March.
Thank you. We're looking at 25 years difference. You gave a technical answer about how comfortable you are. You're a first responder. You're a first responder, and yet, sir, you're just a few years older than myself. So I too have to have somebody younger than me to explain. The goals here say that yes, we can do what we imagine technically in our home. The details are where you have to dig down, okay? So it, as Mies van der Rohe once said, God is in the details, all right? So this solution to what we're looking for in our AI are really there in our details. If you're confused by it, if it doesn't work for you, I have to have help. I have to have somebody that says, how does this work with this, so that I can just look at it on my phone. I don't know how to put the app on my phone. I don't even know my password most of the time. All right? I don't know how the hub works so that all the devices work together. However, when you're approaching smart devices, there are IT development professionals. Your high-end audio, stereo, sound, symphonic, home theater people are your cutting edge. introductions right now. Those are the most technologically proficient people, and they're available. So if you have a quandary and you don't have that expert at your discretion, there are experts already in the fields now who understand this and want more opportunity to follow that stream and that trench, because they're recognizing this is going to be new. You know, the guys who shoveled coal into our parents' basements because we burned coal, okay, lost some jobs to the guys that put in the HVAC systems that burned gas, okay? But a whole new generation of jobs came up of guys who could put in gas furnaces. And there's a whole new generation of technologists who do understand the technology and are working in it in various levels. And they're waiting to be engaged. They just need to be called. They get it. We're new, we're at the door. Eventually somebody will come up with a very clever smart house service group, whatever. They'll put their trademark on it. You'll be able to call them and you'll be able to get a homeowner warranty for your AI. You know, you'll have to pay somebody. On our houses, we pay somebody $1,000 to give a personal warranty to every one of our homes for an entire year. So you can call this young guy, bother him, say, hey, my AI's not working the way I want it to, and he'll go in the file and fix everything. And so we've made it personal that as a warranty, you can be connected and you can grow. Yes, ma'am, please.
Sorry, Kristen. Is this circle?
Yeah.
On that note, one of the questions I had, and I think maybe a concern to some consumers, is the pace that things are advancing is rapid, and I
Yes,
see
ma'am.
that graph increasing
Yes.
in slope. How quickly things will become obsolete is a concern, I think, to consumers when it comes to the expense that they're going to invest in their smart home technology,
Oh.
and like anything else we've ever seen.
Yes.
What are the thoughts on that in terms of when we build a home specifically from the foundation up to be with the latest smart home technology, what is the answer or what is the current mindset about addressing those concerns 1 year or 3 years down the road when all of those things, or certainly 10 years down the road when those things are obsolete?
Fair question. First off, you better start with really good high-speed internet. Great lines, okay? You want as fast, strongest connection as possible. So what we do is we order for our homes the highest speed business class internet we can get. And then we put in a really good modem and a really good router and use really expensive cables and signal boosters immediately. Because first and foremost, you have to have signal. You have to have connectivity, even though most of the devices are Wi-Fi now, okay, and wireless, which is great, but you have to have good Wi-Fi connectivity in the home. So the money that you spend on that, okay, that's like the bricks in the foundation and buying good triple pane windows to keep the cold out if you start with good basic equipment. After that, Alexa and the Dot are at $39 and $79 price points. So I guess I would compare it to when you bought a television set. You said, wow, this thin screen that's only 5 inches deep and is 40 inches wide is really cool. And now you go, I can get a 50, 60-inch screen that's 2 inches deep. It's the same price. That old TV's obsolete. I'm going to go put that in my bedroom. So yeah, the technology is going to come down. It's going to increase. But if you start with the basics, where the intelligence comes into, from there, your basic is whatever the device you want. No, we picked Amazon because we felt that Amazon had the most current performance to service model delivery. They understood what we're doing in this space. I'm ordering more stuff for this space. Okay, or for when I leave this space, for how I look and feel. Okay, but it's going to come to this space. So there's systemologies have been built on recognizing that Everybody's got all their different apps, everybody's got all their different versions. They've made it the easiest to work with other AI. So as you buy your first Alexa for $79, and it has a decent speaker in it, it can play your music, and it can do the things for you, it can make its noise. When you decide that the show is now at $192 and you can have voice and screen activation, you can take the Alexa, go put it in another room, put it in the garage, put it in the dining room, put it in your bedroom, and your AI capacity continues to expand. That's probably what you'll do. That's what we ended up doing, and that's what people I know end up doing. They grow. Each piece becomes part of another piece, becomes part of another. If you need to get it, please, please, the rest of us are just here.
Did you say, Alexa, play my Interrupt the Class playlist?
Can I
You're
piggyback
funny.
on her question?
Yes.
It's the basis of the foundation where you start. But if I were building a house right now, I would make sure I had cable run to all the appliances in my house, my refrigerator. I don't think there's anything for the stove yet, but why not? And to the laundry room. And so that's the only thing I would add to that.
So you would like to, because I'm a builder and I gotta justify these costs, when I build
Yeah.
these places. So if we were customizing your home,
Yes,
okay, you would want hard cable
yes.
wired to your appliances,
Yes.
including the washer and dryer.
And the refrigerator.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Correct.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You know how we have generators in case our electricity goes out?
Yes.
What if we have to back up when the internet goes out?
You really should.
Twice as much to do
It's
it.
a smart thing to do.
What do you have, a second?
What do I have? Right now, I need to sell one more smart house. I'm buying a backup generator. Okay, so
But
help
does that
me.
help you if you lose the internet?
If you lose the internet, hopefully, you're somewhere in an area where you're still getting Wi-Fi signal from something.
Cell
If you
data.
lose the internet, it's Armageddon. All right? It's a zombie movie.
Have you seen the outage maps that all of the big cable providers put out and cell providers put out?
So on that point, when the internet does go down, are there mechanical backups in place for,
Only if you put them in.
is that what you guys do in your?
Sometimes, depending on the home, depending on what the customized client's been offered and what they're willing to pay for. Like, all of this costs a nickel,
Sure.
so we have to put the nickels in.
In central Indianapolis, we have lots of old neighborhoods
Yes.
with above-ground power lines, and every time there's a windstorm,
Sure.
we lose power. I've definitely had houses rental houses that have been out of power
Mhm.
for 2 or 3 days, where we are hand scooping out the sump pump, keep
Yep.
basements running. So what happens with all these locks and lights and temperatures and all these things and blinds going up and down, and can kids get in and out of the house?
Oh my gosh, it's like out of a movie.
So what happens when there's absolutely no electricity?
You're gonna be terrified.
No.
Now, you want a serious answer, because you painted this picture that the devices are gonna start acting on their own.
Not like, but have everybody locked out or locked in or turned on or turned off?
Every smart lock can be turned by hand,
Okay.
okay? They're not that dumb. Okay, they can turn off.
Alexa
Okay.
will go quiet, though.
From the inside,
She'll
and
go
also
quiet.
depending on what you've got, whether or not it goes from the inside. And most smart locks have a backup battery charge, that if the power goes out, you can still, by your phone or manually or with an instruction, send an instruction to it by Wi-Fi and open up your lock to either get in or out.
What?
But smart devices are only as smart as you're willing to afford your backup. If you want AI in your home to set your scenes, to conserve your energy, to make things easier for you, to set your blinds and your lights and be able to send your packages over, then when there's a catastrophe, you have to be smart enough to say, okay, this is what I need as far as backup energy. My IT department is a backup generator. I look across Indian Lake and see this kid's house all lit up every time our power goes out. I'm jealous, but I appreciate the fact that if I need him, he's still got power.
Yeah, I think you said Wi-Fi and meant cell data there a second ago. to communicate to those, like
Thank you.
your door
Thank you.
lock. So
Yeah.
just like if, you're out with your smartphone and Wi-Fi is not available or it's too slow, you can turn that Wi-Fi off and go to cell data. The necessities, I think, will still be accessible. You may just lose, like Alexa will go quiet. She's plugged into an outlet, and so if the outlet's not working, then she'll go quiet.
Since I have the box, I'm just gonna hog it. But
Go.
can we go back to obsolescence? Because I used to be a photographer where every time I got a new camera, which was much more powerful, I'd have to upgrade my computers, which was much more powerful, and then I'd have to upgrade my software, boom, boom, boom. And eventually everything's going to subscription. Do you see something like this having a smart house go to subscription so that when the technology upgrades and the software upgrades, that it's all going to be one price, that for a set price, these people are going to come in and replace the technology?
Well,
and
that's
upgrade my
really
software?
altruistic of you.
I'm sorry?
That's very altruistically thinking of you. And no, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think the free market is going to step in and say, this is obsolescent, I'm competitor, I'm creating a new idea, and if you want my new latest whiz-bang gizmo of how this works, you're going to pay my premium price just the way Apple treats us.
But so much is going to subscription now, where we used to be able to buy software, it's now subscription, because if they tell us this will allow us those automatic upgrades. We might have fought it at first, but it's our only option if we want that software.
Well,
So-
we'll see which way it goes.
Yeah.
I'm just a prognosticator.
Who wants it?
I think when you all were talking about things turning off, the electric or whatever, power going out, wouldn't you agree that as these smart houses become more readily available for consumers, that when somebody's selling you that product to make your house smart, they're also going to be able to sell you those backup plans or try to educate the consumer on, now that you have this product, this is kind of what you do if this happens or that happens, or
We
like you
hope
said, the
so.
selling of
We
warranties.
would hope so, but at this point in time,
Like I know with
It's
our
early.
house, with our children, my husband took it upon himself that to tell my daughter, this is how you get out of the garage if the power goes off.
Okay.
You do this, this, and this. So I do think it's kind of the consumer's responsibility to understand what they're purchasing, and if something were to happen, what would they do in case that happens? And I would think that the people making the houses smart would also have that, would want to sell those options to people.
well, we take everybody, we give them a rather extensive brochure, notebook, set of training, so as to how the devices work, what the warranties are, what each device does, how it connects. There are going to be lots of issues, and there are lots of issues of how the AI talk to each other and work with each other. Kerfuffles are part of our everyday life at every home. There aren't huge swaths of experience and data that the manufacturers themselves have had the opportunities to utilize. We saw coming into our hardware stores over the last year or so, plethoras of end cap demonstrations of different smart devices for the home that you could buy at Lowe's and Menards and Home Depot. And the hardware stores were talking about selling solar batteries and rooftop solar panels from Tesla. And yet the departments slowly at a time have been taken apart and relegated to an aisle because the average consumer, quite frankly, really isn't comfortable going out and installing all of this stuff themselves. So yes, we have a long way to go about what happens when something doesn't work correctly. And if you put things in yourself, yeah, you've got a lot of explanation and you've got a lot of Googling to do to understand how your devices will work with you and how you put them up.
If I can jump on, sorry. And I know this is a little bit about what I asked before, but that kind of speaks a little bit more accurately than what I was trying to say. For an example, a homeowner purchases a new furnace, and they purchase the latest technology smart furnace,
Mhm.
the lifespan of the furnace should far exceed the lifespan of the smart technology that goes with that furnace. So what are you seeing in terms on the horizon of systems in place for somebody to maybe upgrade the smart technology associated with their mechanical, but not having to replace the actual item?
If I may, if we can bring this then into an exact specificity of questionality. So are we asking specifically, what do I do with my HVAC system? Correct?
Well, I guess I'm more asking is what do I say to the consumer who says, well, I have this cutting edge furnace that I can program from Florida or whatever, but in 3
Okay.
years it's gonna be a laughing stock because there'll be some new thing, but I don't need to replace my furnace. My furnace functions just fine.
I understand you've got a question here. But what I'd like us to do is really get to, all appliances are obsolete. Your dishwasher now is only gonna last about 6 or 7 years. Your microwave, 4 or 5. Okay. What are we expecting of the smart devices for our investment? I want to reframe the question because I don't have the answer for how the manufacturers are going to treat a client who has bought a device 4 and 5 years from now. I'm not the manufacturer.
Okay,
Okay.
fair enough.
Although-
I guess I see the
Yes.
issue I see is that the technology is going to far exceed the pace of the manufacturer's device's lifespans, and how are we looking
To that
address
point,
that?
most of, and I'm looking at Kristen, because you have this technology in place, there's an app that connects with that, and we're all used to app updates. So that will probably ease some of that pain. Is there going to be updates to those apps and those technologies? That's my computer sound, sorry. I can't turn it off. But apparently, everyone in the building has a big conversation going on through Slack. But there are, there are updates like that that will happen with the digital part of those mechanics, without necessarily, I'm guessing,
So there may
having
be
to
things
update.
programmed into the mechanical or the device that will allow it to be upgraded as the technology.
I get upgrades all the time automatically on mine.
We don't know what this is going to be like. We're discovering each time that we're creating a new home that what we thought were absolute basics that we should have, we're just skimming the surface as we got to understand, oh, how efficient these devices were. We should add these others to it immediately because it makes it so much more efficient. It flows better. So again, we don't know where this is going to go. We see what devices are going to look like, and it looks like we're going to have a lot of voice and touch activation in every room. They're going to connect by a hub, they're going to connect Wi-Fi. But how quickly they change, I'm going to be amazed myself. We're just saying, it's that fast.
And they're getting smarter all the time. I think that's
Yes.
something that, if you want to, there's a Patty, there's a hand up behind you if you want to toss these devices are getting smarter. The AI is getting smarter. I was listening to a talk. I listened to podcasts about technology. Again, go figure. That there was a conversation about some of these AI interfaces have to learn dialects. And, I grew up in Indiana, but I spent 15 years in West Virginia, and sometimes my West Virginia comes out. Is Alexa going to recognize that? I saw, if you want half an hour of really sheer laugh out loud entertainment, Google on YouTube, search babies talking to Alexa. It's hysterical. We were passing it around my kitchen the other night. Babies talking to Alexa. Hey, baby shark. It's like, well, I Googled and found these outcomes. So the AI is getting smarter, but it has to have a base to learn off of too.
And Alexa is designed for this, so that if you feel you have a particular set of intonation, that you can talk to Alexa, set it up so that she'll ask you certain questions, you'll repeat certain words, and she'll learn by AI the intonation of your inflection. My wife and I have completely different tonalities. And so we address it completely differently in different ways. And we have, our first client, for Harry and I, were from Brazil. Not Brazil, Indiana. And so the language of commanding Alexa became a learned event. Now, their home has 8 to 10 times the amount of AI that we started with as they've gone off on their adventure. But it understands his intonation and his accents now.
Does anyone in here remember the first generation of Siri? Did anyone else experience cracked screens as a result of trying to have a conversation and give directions? No, I really don't have that bad of a temper.
Okay.
But it's gotten better, right? It's gotten better. I can now. I'm a Droid user, so I'm not going to do it right now, but I can stand in my kitchen as I'm cooking dinner and run out of something and say, "Okay, Google, add, this kind of spice to my shopping list," or add butter to my shopping list, and then I go to the store and pull up my shopping list, and hopefully I have butter and not some random other word that it tried to pick up because I was having a West Virginia moment.
If Amazon gets its way with you, it'll have you using the Amazon Wand, which is a small device about this big that has a magnet on it that fits on your refrigerator that you can pull off, and you can scan the barcode. And you can send that to your Whole Foods order shopping cart, and it can tell you exactly how many of those you've got in your pantry, and it can tell you what it's selling for at Good Foods.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back to, somebody was asking earlier about what happens when your power goes out and the Wi-Fi then goes out and so on. Do you foresee 5G technology with the cell phones taking place of our Wi-Fi?
Well, that's what they're selling us. That's the idea of why the 5G towers here in Indianapolis were sold at a more competitive rate per tower installation than other cities. Indianapolis will be one of the first cities in the entire country to have powerful 5G. And we know from our friends at Cummins, who are working on wireless technology, that we're fully expecting all signals to be very much wireless and no more wires. So it becomes very much what that crazy scientist Nikola Tesla said we could do with sending power by tower to tower, rather than from cord to cord where we lose power. Every inch we send it through a cord. So yeah, I see the future could go this direction, sir. Yes.
Since I got it, I may as well talk.
Oh, sure.
So just last week I set up my garage door opener, remote garage door opener, and I've had it for 3 years, never set it up. But it started going up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any Wi-Fi or didn't have any notice that was going on. Read a lot of reviews on this particular company, which is a big one. Saw it up there earlier. And people were complaining about it. I'm going to sue this company, this and that. So I dove into it, and it was an actual short, I found out, behind the button. And I fixed it, and it hasn't gone up. But when I hook this up, it can tell me when the thing goes up and it goes down, which is pretty handy. So I've not had one since I fixed that. But I can remotely operate it. And one of the other comments is, if power goes out, it's a battery-backed system. And so I tested it out, and it beeps, luckily, before it goes down. So the dog gets out of the way, I guess.
Nice.
But it has a battery in the system. So
And do you like having this robot work for you?
Yeah, it's handy.
Yeah.
And mostly peace of mind. I know over the last week.
Yes.
It's only gone up and down when I left the house, so.
That's good.
That's cool. One other point, these are bolt-on smart items. Think of it as, you have the mechanics for the front door, you've got the mechanics for the garage door. That's always been there. They just got smarter. You could program those when you're there at the house. But now it's gotten a little bit smarter. Whether this works or not, it's still gonna work the same way. You know, and if you have a battery backup, you can get in the house, get out of the house, whatever you need to do, so.
And that's actually a good point. Sometimes our devices that we buy that are smart, we forget that they can also be dumb. My husband installed a smart thermostat not long ago. It's not the Nest, it's the Honeywell Lyric that we have, and we had it programmed on a cycle, and kids were home for winter break and texted me and said it's cold in the house. And I said, okay. So I texted my husband because I didn't know what the password was, right? So I texted him and said, can you turn the heat up at the house? So he did. And I was home then one day, and I think he was in the bedroom and I was in the living room, and I said, it's cold down here, can you turn the thermostat up? 30 seconds later, he comes downstairs, takes my hand, walks me over to the thermostat, reaches me out and went, zoop. And I went, right. Oh yeah. So sometimes we forget with these smart devices that you can use them the old-fashioned way too. You can still go and push the button on the garage door opener. You don't have to use the app. Who's got the box?
I was just gonna say, in response to, when buyers have questions about this technology is gonna be obsolete soon, things like that, well, I feel like we're all sitting here with things that are obsolete, right?
Yeah.
Unless you bought your cell phone yesterday, it's probably obsolete, but that didn't stop you from buying your cell phone, because you knew it was the best technology at the time. So with technology, I think that's something, we all know things are gonna be obsolete. When we spent the $2,000 on our television, we know it's probably not gonna be the newest model. So just knowing, and I kind of have a real world example, my work phone is the Galaxy S6 from 2 years ago. My personal phone's the newest Galaxy. This one still works. It's just not as nice as this one. So, until it breaks, I'm gonna use it. But yeah, I mean, we all buy technology knowing that it's gonna be obsolete.
There was a hand behind you.
Question is, do you have kind of an about estimate of what construction costs are going to look like as far as increasing just solely based on AI? I mean, I know there hasn't been a ton of improvements in the materials on some of the houses they're building, but it seems like more of the focus is kind of like the cars, where the AI, the technology kind of is starting to exceed the cost of the actual mechanics for the vehicle.
Interesting. Until we start recognizing solar roofs, geothermal heating, radiant heated flooring as part of our smart technology, okay, I would estimate, based on what we're seeing, is that the cost of new construction for AI will probably be somewhere between 1.875 and 2.5% of your construction cost, depending on what you're paying for the warranty, what you're putting inside, and who you're paying, and what you're paying for your installation cost.
I was shocked by those numbers when you shared them with me. I thought they would be much higher. So you're talking about the cabling, the infrastructure of wiring for all of these devices. Are you also taking into account the devices themselves?
Right now, we're taking into account devices as a high energy efficient furnace. We're talking about tankless hot water heaters, thermostats that are smart, and then you can go to our website and see the list of items that we have, including door locks and cameras and security devices and monitors for your windows and your doors and monitors for your energy consumption and your smart garage door openers. And we're using the Show and the Alexa and the Spot and the Dot. And
What is your website?
well, that's real nice, thanks. IndySmartHouse.com.
And he's got some cards on the tables as well. There was a question over, I saw a hand over here. Pass it up and then we'll hop over.
Please don't throw. John, your wealth of information, thank you. I'm wondering, on any of your products that you have right now, when you do lose the internet, or if you would, do you have to go back and reconnect all of the devices?
Well, I'm in it right now. Victoria, when we lose power at Indian Lake, do we have to reconnect Alexa?
No. In fact, she says hello.
She says, hello, looks like you've lost power. Let me help you with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just curious, can these be hacked?
Yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit here
Okay.
too. Yeah, that's on our radar too. Let's wrap up. Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
I want to go with you.
Yeah,
That's fun.
let's wrap
Yeah.
up this segment and
Okay.
we'll move on. So yeah, we kind of talked about the emerging technology, the advancing technology, and sometimes when you're dealing with Alexa, sometimes everything goes right?
Yes.
So she'll power on here. Alexa, turn on my lights, right? And everything works fine.
Yes.
And everything works exactly the way you would expect.
That's correct.
And then sometimes it doesn't.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Right?
Sometimes it's that
Flashback.
way.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand that. Are you a toddler? Are you a... so it's getting better.
In that vein, my wife and I will be watching television. We'll ask each other a question about something. We'll both race to our smartphones that are sitting next to us. I'll type in the answer, even though it's hard for me to see. Okay, she'll want to do a voice activation. And I have to admit, I get a thrill when they don't completely understand exactly the intonation and we're chasing each other to get there first. Now, often, Alexa or Siri understands her before I can type, and she gets the answer quicker. But it is a kerfuffle. It can happen.
One of the things we've heard about that's in this same vein of discussion for many, many years is the green words, right? In the green world, we'll call it greenwashing sometimes. Have you heard that terminology? I have the privilege of sitting on the Council of MLSs, which is a nationwide conglomeration of MLSs. I sit on their Green Section Council. So I thought this was timely to just share with you as we're continuing on this discussion. Last year we put out this best practices guide for MLSs, and this was shared across the nation. My board had a feature in this, which was really pretty cool. But this ties into this conversation because green practices have been out there for a long time, but it has evolved over the number of years to really drive down into how do those green building practices, those green devices, figure into the usage of the client. So really there's these three standards of green is, if we do a high efficiency furnace, it costs less to heat. You have greater control over it. You can segment out room by room your comfort levels. There are commercials out right now that speak precisely to this. And then that health concern too. If you can control the humidity, you can make the environment in that room better. So these are some of those concerns that have emerged over time and become part of that ongoing conversation about green building practices and greening your homes. So this is something that is coming. You guys kind of have your first eyes on it outside of our technology committee. These are some updates that are coming. Toward the end of February is our target. That we're changing a little bit of our vernacular within the BLC to conform with some of these national standards. So instead of focusing so much on green technology or even energy efficiency products, the terminology is changing to high performance indicators, HPIs. So as you start hearing that and seeing that on listing sheets, internet sites, HPI refers to high performance indicators. And that's going to take some of this technology into account and some of those comfort features into account. We will be rolling in some new listing fields to accommodate for these technologies that are already in homes that you're selling. right? You're already dealing with these technologies. So we're adding a field in the VLC. It'll be called smart home features. We've had green home features in there for a while, green features and energy efficient features, but we thought this was an important addition just to make sure that we are on that forefront and that you can communicate these pieces of technology in the transfer of homes in your transactions. We want to make sure that those are available, that they're searchable if you have somebody who's interested in these kinds of homes. And we know this is new. It's going to take time for it to reach that critical adoption rate to where it's really useful, but it's good to start collecting this. How else is that going to help? In valuation.
Yes.
Right? So as these homes become more commonplace in our market, we want that data available so that we can compare dumb homes, right? Is that what we're going to call them now? Standard homes to homes that have smart technology built in. So here's what the field will look like. Because you can't see all of those features, I've got this list. It's a pretty comprehensive list, and this came. I meant to run it by you, and I just sort of ran out of brain power. This came from some of the features that Lennar is incorporating in their home, so kind of off their spec sheet. But it's pretty inclusive and distinguishes between Wi-Fi controlled, voice activated. So you'll have those available to start using very, very soon. I'm not going to give you a date, but very, very soon. So just wanted to bring that to your attention because you will see it. And then, yeah, we'll circle right back over here to security concerns. Yeah, my home is controlled by a device. What kind of risk does that put me at?
Big. Anybody can be hacked. That's the truth, right? Okay. If, when you're setting your systems up, you follow the protocols that the best minds have said, really make your password difficult and then write it down so that you remember it.
And stick it on the wall.
And yeah, stick it on the wall and then use it for everything. Okay? So if you're a spy and another nation wants to find out what's going on in your house, you got no chance. All right? You're going to get hacked. If you're a regular consumer, you're a target. Every consumer is always a target for a scam at every level, no matter how we develop as a culture. Okay? There's always going to be people who are nefarious, who want to try to take advantage of people's vulnerabilities. So if you're concerned about your home getting hacked, your setup and your passwords are your protections. And beyond that, it's what you look at that opens the door. If you're a gamer, you're playing video games connected to your home, you're hacked. Okay? You've got back doors within back doors within back doors. You know, if you've got an Xbox console or anything else, you're hacked. There's an absolute way in and out of your system. If you're going off and shopping online to some of the things that pop up on Facebook and buy something on this one and that tangent to that tangent, your back doors are open. Okay? So caution, strong passwords, and maybe put your game console on something else. Okay? But for the most of us, what they want from us, you've already given them with your smart TV. Because the price of the smart TVs is now offset by the fact that all smart TV manufacturers sell your collected data to the open market. So that's why the cost of smart TVs are cheaper this year than they were last year. Data, viewing habits, what you're doing, how long you're watching, there it is. It's right there. So if you bought a new TV in the last year, you're giving away your data. What your protection is between your TV and yourself, or your computer and yourself. You put a little piece of paper over the little camera in front of your computer? I do. See? Okay? But Hacking is going to be a constant in our life. Our credit cards get hacked. We stop at Holiday Inn on a trip to visit our family. Holiday Inn gets hacked. You go to Macy's and, want to pick up some shoes. All of a sudden Macy's gets hacked. So your home, yourself, you're under attack. Yes, ma'am.
That's personal, such a personal level though, that it's kind of scary.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. But the camel has already got his nose in the tent. All right? And if you know the Arab parable, you understand how that ends. If not, Google the story.
The whole camel ends up in the tent.
Short version.
He had to explain it to me. I was like, you have a camel? What? Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about you, but anybody in here have little kids? I mean, mine aren't so little anymore. They're bigger than me. Anything that has a camera on it, my kids are gamers. They not big gamers, but they have one of those consoles. For Christmas, my daughter asked me for the little camera that hangs from the TV to watch them play Just Dance, so she doesn't have to hold the controller or phone. And I said, I'll be happy to get one, but I'm getting a case to go with it that flips up and covers those camera eyes when we're not using it, because I don't even want the chance of
somebody looking at your daughter.
Maybe they could hear our conversation.
Yeah.
It's probably not super interesting without the visual to go with it. Like, what is she yelling at those kids about for now? But probably not real interesting. But yeah, I don't want the chance of somebody watching my daughter.
Unless it's you.
Unless it's
and
me.
then the camera.
And then the camera's
in
very
your
handy.
home
I don't
is your
really care.
servant.
Yeah.
And then it's you being able to turn the thermostat up because the kid said it's cold.
Right.
And you don't want them turning up the thermostat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I did have to lead. I had to follow my lead and
Yeah.
take one over there the other day and went.
Okay.
So yeah, I think those concerns, particularly for those of us who have kids, it just kind of raises it to another level. Whose eyeballs could infiltrate into my house. Let's get that thing over to this side of the room again.
Well, coming from a country that is not a lot of technology, it has some pros, but also has some downfalls. I mean, technology.
Yes.
But when you are talking in this kind of business, where the business is to sell houses, how much value do you think? Does the house really get more value with the smart technology or less value?
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
The appraisers right now are giving us an additional 5% for the 3 homes that we've, 4 homes that we've currently utilized this technology in. It was extremely helpful when we were the first people building, we built our first home at 1964 Park Avenue, across the street from MLK Park. And we were coming in at the highest price point in that neighborhood at $380,000. The appraisers gave us an extra 5%. We set the ceiling, everything in on that block after us, then sold for $400,000. When we broke ground in Fountain Square, we needed to be the first home in Fountain Square to have an appraisal over $500,000. We broke that glass ceiling because, again, because of our smart design, smart engineering, we were able to differentiate by our blueprints, designs, and work orders. This is what we're putting in as far as materials. And then here's our smart house installation list of what we're putting in. So we're getting a little bit of credit from the industry that tends to be very conservative, appraisers. And if you're in business, you probably all had an appraiser horror story that has held back a deal, or someone in your office has mentioned it over the course of the last couple of years. But we found the smart devices have really propelled us to get a higher cost per square foot and allows us to stay in the higher tranches then of cost per square foot analysis and yield. So it's been good for us. Thank you, sir.
John?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I hear that with the appraiser, you had to give him, specs of what was in the house?
Oh,
You didn't
yes.
just walk around and go, oh, I see.
Oh,
Smart
absolutely.
devices.
We provided full information.
Okay.
We wanted We knew we had to break that ground. If we didn't get the appraisal, we didn't get the loan, we didn't get to build the house.
Right.
So we had a lot riding on it.
So I might, as a realtor, I might think, okay, I will need to make a list of that and
Yes.
share it when I get the appraiser out there.
We're talking about granite countertops and
Yeah.
stainless steel appliances, and if you have a Bosch dishwasher, we mention it in our remarks. If we have stained glass in the bathroom window, we mention it. And so if you're representing a seller, the fact that, my goodness, if they just have a Ring doorbell, they just have that alone adds tremendous comfort, security, and ability to the homeowner, just knowing who's at the front door.
There's a question back here.
Along the same line of security, I have people evaluating homes for the package delivery option.
Yes.
What have you seen as the best solution to porch pirates?
I love the question. Hopefully, I will show you the answer at Valentine's Day. All right, we're building an Amazon delivery box for our smart house in Stringtown. We want you to be able to see the camera, Amazon come in, let you know when the box opened by code.
You give the code to the driver as he contacts you, or?
We can work either giving the code to the driver, because Amazon then has a system that will let us do that, or the driver has to contact the owner for the box to open it, let you know your package is here, you get an instant camera alert, and you can then elect manually to unlock your box and let your package be put in there. Yes?
You two should have sat next to each other.
I know. So last night I was with Roger Lundy and we sat with Larry Nutt. Is that how you pronounce Larry's last name? Millennial. And we talked about next gen. And we were talking about this meeting today in smart homes. And the millennials feel that they are the majority of our buyers. They want smart technology. And that's what I saw. I sat at the table, you know, looking at the age range at my table, and I kind of felt a little outnumbered, but I listened to what they said to me, and they said, that is the #1 feature we are looking for. We need to simplify our lives. He was telling me he has this, I was trying to look it up, he has this bicycle that he keeps in his car, and when he goes to appointments with other millennial buyers, he loads that in his car, and then he takes the bike out and rides the bike to his appointment because he wants to be savvy with other millennials and show that he is just like they are. He said, that's what I do. I ride my bike around when the weather's good, and I can connect with them because they're all about green space, modern technology, simplifying their lives. And without the technology, it might be a turnoff. You might have 2 houses next to each other, he said. One might be just $5,000 more because it has smart technology, but might not have the color scheme, and they're gonna choose the smart house over the one that had everything that they wanted because it had the technology they needed to simplify their life.
Who do you find is your typical buyer on these homes? Is it millennials or is it?
Right there.
Is
right
it?
there. The millennials are the first responders to our 2-story. All right, they're the first responders to what we're doing. They're groundbreaking people. The technology is inside. They want that indoor-outdoor living that we're creating with this patio, Mediterranean, ancient grandmother-grandfather behavior of how family works together and stays together and plays together. Our next set of interested people, but only for the ranch version. Yes.
So,
Yes.
I happen to be a next-gen person. I couldn't make it because I was too long at the thing last night at the home show. But I just wanted to speak out because I'm kind of right on the dividing line. So the difference between me and most millennials, I'm technically supposedly millennial because I was born in '85. But, and it's like 81 is the cutoff, but anybody who had computers in their elementary school did not necessarily grow up with the internet is really in kind of a different class. So we had Alexa at my house, we got rid of it. We didn't like her listening to her. She would say stuff and we're like, shut up, Alexa. Like, and she doesn't shut up, so it's not really helpful. It would be nice if they had that feature. But I think so, just so you guys have a good feel for the demographics, that is, you know, I know Larry and Courtney and a few other people in Next Gen, and that's maybe 10 years younger than me. So that's people in the early 90s, people who basically grew up with the internet their entire lives. Those people are wanting it. People just beyond that, maybe not quite, it kind of just fades off.
I'm a Gen Xer. We're the ones that we always get overlooked, right? Poor Gen Xers. We're all overlooked. I'm kind of right on that behavior difference too. My dad was a computer programmer when I was growing up, so we were generally early adopters of technology and certainly computer power. I remember when I was in elementary school, he brought a computer into my grade school classroom to demonstrate and let us play with. So I'm a little that behavioral difference too than maybe my normal generation. But I've had those same conversations, like what's the comfort level? I know some of our neighbors have an Alexa, but they turn it off. So there is an off button on her, but then you have to remember to turn her on when you want to talk. You have to turn it on and then talk to her. But I did, my youngest son was talking to me about the Google Dot or the Alexa, and he said, are we ever going to get one? I said, I don't know. I don't like the idea of it listening to me all the time. He said, no, it only listens when you talk to it. I said, well, how does it know you're talking to it? Because it's listening to you all the time, and it responds when you say, Alexa, and then it wakes up. But yeah, it's a little big brotherish.
It's listening.
It's listening.
Yes.
But perhaps just not responding. So I think maybe there's a difference. Yeah.
We live in a world, and really very philosophical. We live in a world where whatever we have been exposed to, we've been exposed to the thought that we should have a conscience and a set of behaviors. Okay? No matter where you are. All right. So, yes, your AI is listening. Your AI is listening as it's about to be of service to you. Okay? As we get through our anxieties and our concerns and our fears, which probably is cultural and social, our AI is going to be in the home. It's not going to come back out. The robots come home, and the AI is here to serve you, and it's voice and touch activated. Now it's awkward. We mention her name. But there will be an app. Some bright young woman, some bright young man is going to figure out how to take the app, hook it onto Alexa's back neck, squeeze her with a set of pincers and say, now I'm calling you Jesse. All right? And that app is going to be worth $1 million. All right? It will happen. Your AI will be voice activated. It will be touch activated. Information is at your fingertips. You don't leave home without your phones. Okay? Eventually, you won't leave your home without being connected to your phone.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on sort of just a practical matter. As we know all of these are getting incorporated, these are realtors in our room, and you deal with transaction of the purchase and sale of homes. So I have a smart home, or very soon will have. I have a smart home. I have all of these devices that are connected across my home. I sell my home. How do I get all of those settings, the things that I'm going to leave? I'm going to take some of it with me. I'm going to take my standalone Alexa with me.
Okay.
But I'm going to leave the thermostat, right? I may leave the router. I'm going to leave some of these pieces of technology with the house. What do our realtor friends in the room need to know about how they handle those features of the property that are going to be left behind? How do we transition those to the new homeowners, those buyers coming in and taking ownership of those devices?
The first line we're going to start with is the line on our VLC contract that says if it needs a screwdriver to remove, you can't take it with you. So it's going to be up to you as the representative of both the seller to identify what these assets are, because it enhances what you're selling. Okay? As a buyer, as an agent, it's going to be indicative upon you to recognize what devices are already installed And as a professional negotiator between these parties, the one who carries the water of the anxiety of the actual performance of buying and selling, okay, it's going to be up to you to understand the informational bridges of what are they selling to my buyers? What are my buyers buying? And that's the point where you call that local professional from an IT company, from a computer company, from an entertainment installation company, from a security company to be your asset. Just like you've got somebody who you trust for your mortgages, just like you trust someone who comes in and does your repairs and spackling and fixing, and just like you trust someone to come in and tune up the HVAC. You've got to find who you trust, and you have to build the bridges. Because the buyers and sellers don't know yet. We have to build these customs ourselves. You're helping us understand the new customs and the traditions we have to pay attention to by the BLC saying that high-performance devices. You're giving us the professional language of where we have to engage in protocol behavior.
So something just as simple as, this is an experience I had with a buyer several years ago when all of these things were just coming into being, a Nest thermostat. It has a Wi-Fi password to the previous owner.
Mm-hmm.
So this was something that was very new at the time. My buyer moves in, they live in Florida, they have a condo up here. The wife comes up here during the winter. Of course, there's no heat. The Wi-Fi password, the Wi-Fi is still connected to the previous owner, which we had no
Right. You had no
information.
experience.
No experience with that. The new owner is in Europe, or the previous owner is in Europe. We have to try and get the heat onto this house, tracking down the previous owner
Yes.
who's in Europe. So just little things like that.
Oh, yes, this is
Transferring
difficult.
Wi-Fi information and old passwords, things like that.
Absolutely.
To all of these new gadgets.
Yes.
And I don't.
That's why we wanted to have this conversation, because
Yeah.
this,
Just little
yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
just transferring.
And in the
ownership
meantime,
of passwords.
can you walk over to the thermostat and turn it on, right, you know? But yeah, if they're,
It wasn't.
wasn't connected, okay, yeah. Where's our, oh, you got it. You're
There's
forwarding
a
along.
reset, like a clear, so I would suggest, if you don't have that IT person to come in and do it, you just have your sellers clear their devices before they leave, which leaves them open for the new owners to be able to come in and set them up under their Alexa or whatever device it is.
Your knowledge base of this answer, all right, at this time is reflective
Yes, 3
of the
years
quandary
later.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
You weren't in the room.
But I was gonna share with you guys, I took the plunge and traded in my SUV for a vehicle to be more technology savvy, I guess. Didn't know I liked it because I was having a struggle because it tells me everything to do. It's Apple CarPlay now. I don't need navigation. It's on my phone and it's listening to me every minute. It's telling me if I've crossed the lane without my turn signal. And it's just like, I'm like, shut up already. I know that I didn't use my turn signal, but it's reminding me all the time. So the technology, you can't get a car without it now. So it's like, okay, well, if you want a new car, you're gonna get all this stuff that goes with it. It's no longer an option, it's just standard.
I'm sure it's probably configurable, but that's gonna take.
Oh, I found the off
Some
button.
fiddle, oh, there you go. See, she found the off button. She
So I guess what I'm
Like,
saying.
you
has
have
the
a future in
technology.
this.
So I guess what I'm saying is that when we have a smart home and we have sellers, we need to somehow advise them that we need to somehow turn off passwords.
Yes.
Or look into how.
You need to identify every
Yeah.
single device.
If our
and-
sellers even know what those devices are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
If they
how
do.
to get rid of,
Yeah.
how to clear everything off. And so that's where all this stuff gets kind of confusing.
And I would imagine
It's
that-
gonna be this way for a while.
Yeah.
Forever.
Eventually, your disclosure forms, we don't have a form for that yet, but eventually, she's made her own. Eventually, there will be a form to fill out for your devices. What do you have, what's staying, what's not staying?
Thank goodness we have good leadership.
It'll catch up, but we're not there yet. I can't control the state
Maybe you should trademark those
forms.
forms. Maybe you should do something with those forms.
It's a simple form, it just asks if it's on
my listing form, it just asks, do you have any smart technology in your home, and would you please list them? And it's a reminder for me to
Yeah.
remind them.
Yes. And then at closing, you probably have a scenario where you sit down with them and
It's
say,
just like
okay,
the
let's clear all of
seller's
these
di-
things out.
It's just like the seller's disclosure. I bring it with me as a reminder, did you clear all of these devices? You know, and I do it actually the day before. Did you do all of this?
Okay,
Oh,
but
God, yeah.
some of my sellers don't even know the password to get on their Wi-Fi, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You gotta help them, but if you let them know in advance that they're working on that,
Yeah.
preparing for closing.
All right, Debbie.
Well, that was my statement, is we probably will have a form for that. And maybe if they're all listed like you had on there, check the box, and then, because sometimes the sellers won't know if they have it, and then have the other, you know, as it, we'll have to have them changed as new ones come out, but yeah.
And we have, you know, obviously we have my board members who are on that, that Indiana State Forms
Yeah.
Committee. So I'll make sure this gets, you know, attention, but can't guarantee that it's going to grab their attention immediately. This will evolve over time. We're early. This is an early conversation. Is, you know, even though I hold this up and say 2014, this was the cover of Time magazine, we're still, you know, that was cutting edge. We're seeing this continue to emerge in our market. There's a toss it back that way or come forward.
So I guess I have two things. One's just like kind of a warning. I've run into a couple of times where installing this smart hardware into your home, especially thermostats, actually voids certain home warranties. So that's something to make sure you watch. Some of the companies that are coming into the home, the first thing they are checking is if there have been any quote upgrades. If you can't prove when you upgraded it, or it was in existence, like actually in the home before you bought it and purchased the warranty, then they won't cover it. So just kind of a heads up on that.
Or
And then-
sometimes if it's a DIY versus an installed
Yeah, and there was
project.
one time where it was actually professionally installed, and they didn't have like the receipt at that point in time, and so they did the repairs, but the client had to foot the whole bill for like the computer board replacement,
Yeah.
and then fight with the warranty company on the back end.
And same thing on the energy efficiency programs that are available through the energy companies. If you have somebody looking at one of those upgrades, make sure they understand the difference between a rebate provided for just an upgrade and a rebate provided by an approved installer. Just anybody that's taking advantage of those. Sorry.
And then my other question for you, as far as being a builder, do you see that a lot of this smart home stuff and the Alexa stuff and all that is, it's shiny, it's nice, it catches our attention, it makes our life easier. Do you see that really casting a shadow on like the building side of it, as far as construction materials or building techniques or anything like that? Do you see that that's kind of slowed down over kind of the, like I said, nicer, newer, shinier?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Do
Be
you
more
see
specific.
that industry overshadowing, so like the technology industry overshadowing the actual construction materials and build of these newer, smarter homes? While the push button things are smarter, are we getting more efficient with our construction materials, I guess is my
Wow, that depends on the builder. And one magic trick, okay, is always a quick, easy way to distract people from what you're doing over here.
That's what concerns me with this Lennar deal. You know, it's their job to build a lot of homes quickly, and, you know, I didn't know if there's...
I'm not going to comment on their methodology. I will take this moment, though. In front of you are cards, okay? We have a Muddy Boots open invitation today. You can come out and see what the home at 274 North Reisner looks like in this state. Okay, by Valentine's Day, we'll invite all of you personally to come and take a personal tour of the home with the bells and the whistles and the buttons and the voice, and it will be an active machine at that time.
What's the price on this home?
$329,000 for 2,080 square feet.
How many bedrooms?
3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, 1 half bath.
And my dream master bedroom.
Is there range?
For real.
No, it's a 2-story with a
I need
balcony
less
that
kids.
faces the skyline of downtown, so it faces the river. You see the IUPUI campus. You can see the zoo areas from where we're at. Our front top balcony is 26 feet wide by 10 feet deep. So the view is designed to make you go, wow, this is where we're at.
Do you have a basement?
At this one, no. Price point absorption in Stringtown will not allow us to build the basement and still be able to sell. The market takedown is still prohibited in that area. 18 to 24 months from now, it won't be.
Something I found interesting, he was kind enough to let me come and tour. We had to, dodge past scaffolding and drywall mutters, but it was
Thank you.
quite a tour. I was fascinated by his intentional use of space. My colleague Justin went out there with me. Every possible space that could be utilized by someone in the home for something has been. There's little nooks built in where I could see my 10-year-old sitting on the bench in the nook and playing video games away from everybody else. I could still see him, but away from the traffic flow of the house. And the same thing in one of the bedrooms. They've snuck some space over what would be a closet for a little loft area that, your
your 12-year-old.
You can tuck somebody in there and
Yeah.
they can have their little fort. He put me in command central when I came through, which I liked. I like being in control. So just explaining the way the sight lines in the design work, you can see and control your environment from wherever you happen to be standing, and the design's really pretty. So if you have time, as we wrap up here, I thank you all for coming. If you have time, John's gonna head right there and have the door open so you can take a little walk through, and then when the product is finished, we'll send out a follow-up invitation to everyone
Yes.
who was here today. So I thank you for coming. This was our first one of these. I think it was a lot of fun. Our next one will be hosted on March 15th. And we'll be delving into something you're probably somewhat familiar with and have seen in our marketplace, 3D tours, virtual reality capabilities within those tours. And Susie will be our next subject matter expert. She is here at 360 Property Tours. So if you want to pick her brain, she may stick around.